When I was a little boy riding in my parents' cars, I used to pay attention to the sounds of the cars that went by us. I realized that the cars that I liked were big cars with big V8 engines in it. So I was curious, and I held that curiosity all the way until the time was right for me to start getting in a car. But believe it or not, I was actually once young. So you're probably not surprised that from the minute I got my hands on my first car, the car that was all mine, not my mom's, not my dad's, not mine, my brother's, it was all mine. I wanted to modify that car right away, immediately, as fast as I could do it. Unfortunately, it wasn't something worth modifying.
That story is coming up right after the break. Did you know that the average driver gets 9 traffic tickets in their lifetime? Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've taken maybe a couple of liberties with traffic laws back in the day. And of course, when I got caught, I had to go to court to fight the ticket, which was always a hassle. And each time that I lost my case, it meant big fines, points on my record, and higher insurance premiums. Eventually, I realized that nothing beats having a good attorney argue your case in court. So here's what you do. You download the Off the Record app to your phone and register for an account. And if you get a ticket, simply upload a photo of your ticket into the app and you will be quickly matched with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Your lawyer will start working your case right away, and in most cases, you'll never have to set foot in a courtroom. Off the Record has a 97% success rate and a 4.9 star rating on Google. And guess what? They even offer a money-back guarantee if they aren't able to reduce the points or keep that ticket fully off your record. Best of all, I've arranged a 10% discount for all of my YouTube viewers, so download the app and register using the referral code FASTLIFE to receive 10% off your first case.
So I knew some basics about improving the performance of a car, you know, what are you supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. But really, there was no internet back then, so there was really no reference guide to go by, and there was no way to do research other than trial and error studies, or maybe getting some pointers from people who actually work on those cars. But in my town, nobody had one of those cars, and there were no Isuzu experts back then. But the hardware was already familiar to me because it's used on all the other different types of cars. Because almost every car back then used a carburetor, not fuel injection. The 1981 Isuzu I-Mark, which was called the Gemini in other parts of the world, used a carburetor. It had a 1.8 liter engine making about, I want to say, 78 horsepower or something like that. So what you do with that, you know, you get a bigger carburetor in there, you put an exhaust on it and all kind of thing, and maybe better spark plugs, which help just a tiny little bit, that kind of thing. Maybe change the rear end gears to get the thing to get off the line a little quicker. But after that, you're going to be done unless you want to get the real money, like shaving the head, bore and stroke, but it wasn't worth the money, right? So once I did those few mods, there's really nothing left to do to make any more horsepower or to make it fast enough to keep me excited. So I didn't keep that car very long. Before I sold it though, I found out that this motor was actually used in the 1970 Chevy Love pickups. So there were quite a few mods for that engine, including a set of long tube headers, figuring that bigger must be better, so why not try that? So I put a set of those headers on the side of the car, and then it lost a lot of torque because it was like 2.5 inch piping coming off the side of that block. It didn't need that. A 1 and 1.5 would have been fine. I put a Weber carburetor on it that was more suitable for an engine that was probably twice the displacements of my little Jap trap. So once I pulled that carburetor size down, it ran a little better, gave me a little horsepower, but it still wasn't enough. So again, I got comfort of the car. I got the right parts on the car, but after trying to dial everything in, the car was super sluggish when I floored it from a dead stop because it was just overcarbed and the exhaust pipes were too big, all that kind of stuff. So all my torque was gone down low, and it took forever for me to get on the freeway, and I was just fed up with it, and I learned some hard lessons the hard way. And my sure chance, many, many years later, when I was global marketing director for MagnaFlow mufflers, I saw why this was true, the way everything worked, how it had to do with scavenging of exhaust. But there are people out there who think louder is better even if it costs horsepower, and that's what's going on in our culture right now. Some people are just trying to outsmart the automotive engineers. An efficient engine makes the most possible horsepower with any particular setup and gets the best gas mileage at the same time. Believe me, the engineers have been chasing this for 40 years, okay? And if you go down to your local muffler shop, there's a lot of probably good people down there who know what they're doing, but they don't have the resources research facilities to test everything. So basically what they're really doing for you is putting the stuff on that you were asking them to put on, right? So that you asked for it, he's going to put on. He's not going to say, oh, no, your car is going to go slower. He's in the job to get money, right? So look at it this way. If you were a bouncer at a gentleman's club and a patron asked you to only introduce him to pretty girls with an 800 FICO score or better, a trust fund, a master's degree, would you tell the customer to just go somewhere else because he's not going to find any of those people in that place? Of course not. You'd first try to please the customer, right? You're the bouncer. That should be your job to take care of it. Do the best you can, all that kind of stuff. That's what's going on with these muffler shops all over the world. They're just going to have you come in. Yeah, I'll take your money. Yeah, it's going to be faster. Yeah, sure. Okay. There's some subjectivity as to what is considered a good sounding exhaust in the ear of the beholder to some people. And basically it works like this. If you walked up to about 25 engineers who work in the exhaust business, and they would say, when you ask them what does it take to make a good exhaust, they would most likely say something that it would be a sexy, smooth, deep tone without any rasp, any kickback, and certainly should not sound like bits of the engine are being shot out of the exhaust tip. So that would rule out all burble maps. That's number one, right? But that's what's happening today in this world. Instead, social media has motivated young people to take the easy way and say, well, I don't want to spend any money on a properly engineered system. I'll just straight pipe the son of a. It'll be lighter, so that'll make my car faster, yada, blah, blah, blah. And maybe I'll put a burble tune in it, so around cool. It sounds like it's built when it's not. It's actually a slow piece of but okay. They're probably not going to admit to themselves that they're now losing low-end torque, but they do it anyway. And then they'll probably say, well, I just want it this way. It's my car. I just like it. It's a form of an expression. Okay. Whatever, man. If you like it, play with it. I get it. Even car manufacturers are struggling to create a pleasing tone for some of their performance cars. And it's not an easy thing to do. Different layouts of engines, with different components on the car, a myriad of things. I did a little searching over the internet for the last couple of weeks trying to find the 10 worst sounding cars that I think have been really sounding bad for a very long time. And so I made a list and I had to move everything around. At number 10, the BMW i8. When I was doing JD Power work a few years ago, it was basically hard to believe that someone came up with that soundtrack that they ended up using, even though they started with a fresh piece of paper. I was like, that's what you come up with? I would take speakers and make it sound like a Formula One car. If nothing else, I would at least do that, and then you just put a double volume switch on it. I don't think that was going to work for me. Well, it's an interesting car, and they're having problems selling it. The MSRP now is about $150,000, and they can't sell them for half that when they come back off the lease anyway, so that's bad, not good. So number 9, the 2015 BMW M3 is horrible with that burble map. Do you remember the predecessor back then, the E92 and E90? That 400 horsepower V8 was one of the best sounding engines in the world ever. I had an Audi RS4 at the time, the B7. Both those cars came at the same time, and they were two of the best sounding cars in the world ever. So what BMW is now doing is what's the word I'm looking for? They're pandering to their audience, okay? The F80 allows the owner to get the Boot Mod 3 to get access to some downloadable burble maps. And reading the comments from about these maps on social media, it seems like the BMW guys, they haven't been this excited since online adult content could be found for free. They clearly know their audience and all that kind of stuff. Watching those videos and the people who were recording those videos, I was like, yeah, it's the typical players. And so for those who like that sort of thing, it's nothing short of amazing, and it's a great thing for their customers and so forth. But let's be real, which sounds better? The new burble map or the older E90, E92 BMWs? And if you say the burble map, you know what? That means you're jaded and unrealistic, and you're a liar. You're lying. No, you're entitled to your opinion, but you'd be better entitled to my opinion. All right, number 8, the Subaru Boxer motor. I'm a big fan of the Subaru. My son has had two. He's had a WRX and a WRX STI. Unfortunately, the engine notes never really lit me up. Now, let me qualify that statement. If I'm watching a Subaru going, full speed, foot to the floor, on ramp, I'm not impressed by the sound of the car. If I'm watching the same car going through a road rally somewhere in northeast of the United States or somewhere in Europe or Scandinavia, I'd be very happy to listen to that all the day. But if I have to drive that 60 miles each way to work, nope. And on that note, there are a lot of people who find that engine sound very, very contentious and obnoxious. I wouldn't call it that. It's just not, it's not a pleasing tone, really. It's more for somebody like who really knows cars. And if they like that, they're going to really like it. The first generation Dodge Viper. Well, the first generation Viper was quirky in many ways, more than in just in the exhaust department. Because of the short pipe and a chassis that didn't have any extra space for routing exhaust system stuff, they didn't have much to do anything to accommodate a resonator, more catalytic converters, and all that kind of stuff. That's why in 1996, the exhaust was rerouted to come out of the back of the car because it had to go to OBD2. When you do that, you have to have 2 oxygen sensors on each side, so they had a longer exhaust. It sounded weird, okay? If you change that exhaust but put it in the same place, it sounds better. But if you keep the stock exhaust, it kind of sounds like a World War II propeller plane that is just getting warmed up to roll out on the tarmac for takeoff. And 2 things I've observed about being around that car many, many, many times. Not a great sound, but again, if you change the muffler and so forth, it will sound better and you can live with it. Okay, number 6, Porsche Boxsters. If you were alive back in around the 1970s, you probably remembered all the air-cooled VW bugs, the cow bugs with the Porsche alloys on roaming the streets of Southern California, and they sounded a certain way. And the Porsche Boxster kind of sounds like that. I'm talking about the 6-cylinder, no, not that wheezy little 4 thing. It really kind of sounded like the startup and idles. So it brought me back to that. However, watching this video, it seems like Porsche is, focused on make sure that they get those burbles. Oh, I remember when butt lifts were all the thing, and I think they're starting to go out of style. I hope that fart mufflers go away too, Suprin. It does not give me pleasure. Maybe I'm generalizing, but how do I put this? The Porsche 718 Boxster car crowd is kind of a car built for women, and maybe for men who have never talked to a woman without first giving that woman his credit card number so she could swipe it. That's I'm sorry if I'm off the map, but it's just a personal observation. To be fair to Porsche, under load, the tone isn't very horrid, but as the car gets further away, all you can hear is a series of rapid-fire farts. And I had a grandpa like that. He's walking down the hallway. I don't know why that came to my mind. I've been sick for 2 days on medication, and I was just in a weird place, so forgive me. And number 5, the Devils. Anybody who takes a perfectly good Honda and straight pipes that you're going to the 9th circle of hell. Light a candle. That's where you're going. A dark pocket of the Hall of Shame, and then eventually, the 9th circle of hell. Stop it. I pray for you. The Honda crowd has always been a different breed. Super, super focused, super, super dedicated. They really love their car. They love everything about it, mostly. I'm sure there's some things they don't like, but one of the things is the cars don't necessarily sound that great, right? There are some Honda engines too, but if you put a turbo on anything, it sounds fantastic. But generally speaking, a naturally aspirated B18 is always sound good if you're spinning that thing to 11,000 RPMs. But generally speaking, you're driving on the freeway, open, straight pipe and all kind of. All you're doing is attract cops to you, pissing off all the neighbors, getting your girlfriend grounded because her parents knows that she's dating a thug. Number 4, Hyundai Veloster, the N1. When I first saw the car, I saw it in the parking lot under a car cover. When I pulled the car cover off, it looked fantastic. I said, this is going to be a hot hatch. Everybody's going to love it, yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. People started buying it, and the Hyundai crowd is coming in big, better, which is great. However, the pops and bangs is ruining that car, so stop that. Number 3, V6 Camaro. Holy noise pollution. It sounds like a Messerschmitt fighter plane took a 40mm anti-aircraft round through the engine block. To make matters worse, this particular guy put the biggest long tube headers he could put on this tiny little engine. All he did is switch his power band to like 6,000. The car's gonna go like this. That's exactly what's going to happen. Go ahead, go onto his YouTube and text him. Let's see what he says. He did exactly what I did, and congratulations for doing that, because now I don't feel so dumb. Actually, I do, but I'm sure that I'm not the only one who did it, so I wasn't the only one, so that's not all bad. So. The V6 Mustang, for people who have piston envy. If you're going to buy a Mustang, you need to buy a V8. If you're forced to buy a V6, my advice is to keep the factory exhaust system. This way, nobody is going to embarrass you at a light. If you're rocking an exhaust system on your V6, the guy next to you thinks that you think your car is fast, and then he's going to try to do a pull on you. And the girl sitting next to you is going to be laughing her cold off when you lose. You're going to get gapped by anybody pretty much, right? What colors those cars beat? Will they beat a Velocity? I got to take a look at I'm going to do another drag race thing. If you're going to lose, who's going to get schooled at a light? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right. Now, so we're down to number one. Anybody can guess what it is? Oh, how'd you know? Infiniti G35, anything with the VQ motor in it. Everybody knows. Everybody already know where I was going with this thing. There's no surprises. Everybody knows that people who are in Nissan Zs or Infiniti G cars are known for bad behavior. Intersection takeovers, spontaneous drift shows on active freeways, in mall parking lots. You can recognize these people by their engine sounds that you can hear a quarter mile away, even if you're behind a skyscraper. You can identify them visually by their expired registration tags, their unrepaired body damage, at least one curved wheel, probably a replica wheel, and stickers of racing parts all over the car, plastered all over the car, but not one of those parts is actually on the car. There's your suspect, Your Honor. Inside of a 350 or 370 or any of those cars, with the windows rolled up and a proper set of 2 1/4 pipes coming back with mufflers and 2 resonators, it sounds good on the inside. On the outside, not so much, but on the inside it sounds really good. So I get what the attraction is, I really do. But straight piping is not the answer. If you're still driving around with a disgraceful VQ under the hood, you should sell it now. Or give it to your little brother, and then you can make fun of him. Guys, I hope you really take this as just a fun little video, right? Your parents are probably saying the same thing, but car guys, just talking car guys. I don't mean anything personal, but you can talk about my cars. There's plenty to talk about my cars. Anyway, Mike's talking to you guys. We'll see you at Cars and Coffee in 1 week. Take care. Bye-bye.